Now the story of two guys in their 30s talking about pop culture and the one show that keeps them sane. It's Out of Memory.
Are we going? Doing?
We've already gone.
We're doing it. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Out of Memory. I'm AJ Hamilton, and with me, of course, is Christopher Hampson.
Ciao and howdy and salutations.
Hey, buddy. And, of course, we've got girl on the couch back there, and girl on couch.
Silent as ever.
Of course.
Silent as a horse.
Listen, as we get older, our brains are getting packed. And this is the podcast where we are making the tough decisions of which memories we deem worthy of our brain space and which ones need deleting.
Yep.
So there's that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what the show's about.
So, yeah. And
thanks for joining us.
Yeah, it's
we don't know why you do, but thank you.
Great to have you back, or here for the first time. Who knows? This is Chris. I'm AJ. And hey, Chris.
Yep.
How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, I'm already feeling very tired now that the sun is setting earlier.
It's not fair. I don't like that when that happens.
I like longer days, but I do miss the rain.
I don't get much rain, sadly, in the LA
by
area.
the time it gets to that cloud that hangs over the LA valley, it just like turns into rocks or something.
We're in a desert, my friend. We're in a goddamn desert. Not in the spirit of that, but in the spirit of this episode, I am drinking vodka. I am drinking a lovely vodka martini, extra dry, 3 olives, of course, and I just
you seem to be winking a lot too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That winky eye.
I have that lovely the long stem cup. It's delicious. So I got some questions for you, Chris. Yeah. You ready for this?
No, I'm ready for them. Go ahead.
All right,
just trying to get over your long stem cup.
Jesus Christ.
Is that what you put on your dating profile?
Yeah. I'm just a long stem cup, ladies. All right. Chris, have you ever made a huge, tiny mistake?
I have made several. One grew to be a 7-year-old. Have you ever said your full name at a shout while like putting your arms over your head?
AJ Hamilton. A lot. I do it all the time.
Christopher Hampson.
There's something life-affirming about that.
It's very masturbatory.
Oh yeah. That's what else do
Where you
I
get
do?
a satisfaction and the magic fades very quickly after.
Have you ever had to drink an entire bottle of vodka just so it didn't go bad?
Have you ever poisoned a whole room full of people with your poor cooking? Hot ham water.
Have you ever painted yourself all blue? Have you ever blew yourself?
I blew myself just this morning. Have you ever reused a banner for awful things like calling somebody a monster?
Look at Banner, Michael. Well,
okay.
Well,
that's it.
Yeah.
I quit the show. You will never see me again.
That's it. I'm out of this family.
I'm out of this family. Goodbye.
And I'm never coming back. Have you ever adopted a Korean child out of spite?
I have.
Nice.
Out of spite for myself,
Yeah.
but instead of a Korean child, it was Korean food with too much kimchi, and the real spite came the next day.
Self-spite.
Yes.
Ass spite.
Spite. Out of toilet paper spite.
Well, this if that
Use the rug spite.
Oh no! Oh God! Just jump in the shower spite.
Get the aloe from the fridge spite.
From the fridge. I guess it
we
would
keep
feel
it in
better.
the fridge.
Oh, you're right.
Well, I get sunburned a lot. Like, I don't know, aloe is already soothing, but man, having cool aloe put on you it's good.
People, you've learned a life hack here. If that wasn't obscure enough, those questions, we are going to tell you. We are talking about Arrested Development, the early 2000s TV series that was brutally cut short in its 3rd season, and then valiantly, if not a little bit weakly, brought back.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know if valiant is the correct word.
I think the intention was valiant. Wouldn't you say?
I think it in the most, the nicest way that you could say that is, it came back. Like
the Night of the Living Dead, it's
it was definitely a monkey paw situation. Like it was alive, but it's not as you remember it, and it's constantly having a heart attack, or however the monkey paw story works. I don't remember. I didn't pay very close attention in English class.
I think you're throwing in a
How
couple.
does the monkey paw work? Like what is the end of that? It's just the.
Well, I think Homer throws it in the trash, and no.
All right, good. Moving on.
Moving on.
Arrested Development.
Development.
This was voted. I want to say probably in like 2004 or 2005 by IGN as like the funniest show ever.
I think they have something. It was so intricate and amazing. Sadly, the cult following that it has, it's bringing it back, could never have lived up to those first 3 amazing seasons. I think they were in such a roles with such amazing actors right before their prime, before they all blew up, and now they're all back together, and it's kind of floundering, I would say.
Yeah. Yes.
You know.
Let's back up for a second, just for anyone who hasn't seen Arrested Development. Mm-hmm. You offend me. Your life offends me that you haven't spent time watching this show.
Yeah.
And you should really think about the actions that have led up to this point, of which could have been spent watching Arrested Development.
What are your life choices? What are you doing? Huh?
No, in all seriousness, like I do know a few people that don't actually like this show. Mm-hmm. That they've watched it. They've tried to get into it and they just couldn't.
Shocking.
Yeah, I'm looking at Girl on Couch right now.
Oh, Girl on Couch. Come on.
She's pretending not to know. Yeah, the show's not for everybody. What for anybody who actually hasn't seen this? It was a show that came out in 2003. Mm-hmm. It is about a dysfunctional, I wouldn't even say well-to-do, but just like white privileged family, overly white privileged family.
Yeah, they had a lot of things going for them, but clearly it wasn't all above board. It's funny because it has a land mogul father figure with a bunch of awful privileged kids. I don't know what that sounds like. That feels like a little bit of a current event that we're going through right now.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, but, it's all cyclical. It all comes back around. Mm-hmm. I mean, it came out during the George Bush era.
Yes, yeah,
it was George
2003.
Bush.
Yeah,
yes. And it goes away when we have a good president, and then it comes back when we have awful presidents. I think that's kind of how it goes.
Yeah, what is happening? Yeah.
Well, no, season 4 did come back when Obama was
2015, 2016. When was it?
Yeah, we don't know, and that's why that's going to be thrown into the research phase.
Of course.
But the main reason that this show, at least out of my memory, that this show did so well was the chemistry.
Yes.
The comedy, like, I don't know, it stacks very well. It's very subtle, where I think the big guffaw comes from a lot of the jokes that are up front, and then there's so many subtle things that stack behind it that a lot of times the first time I would watch something, I'd be laughing so hard I would miss the next 2 jokes that would come that would precede it.
Yeah, it's insanely rewatchable, I think.
Yes. It really is. The first couple times I rewatched it, I would get more and more out of it.
Well, and I heard somebody talking about this. It's almost meant to be binged.
Yeah.
You know, I think it came out when a person, this was sort of at the beginning of the trend of serialized TV, where it wasn't so episodic, where sitcoms, well, you mentioned this earlier. There's no laugh track to this.
Yeah,
which is incredible. Which is not what a normal sitcom would have done.
Well, I put that in our notes, a little behind the scenes for everybody. I put that in our notes just because at the same time as this show was introduced to me, which was late, somebody introduced How I Met Your Mother, and that was really hard to swallow with a laugh track. Yeah. And I was very appreciative that this didn't have a laugh track because it didn't need it.
No.
The writing is very clever, and the acting is fantastic, and everything fits together really well. Yeah. And I'm exclusively talking about season 1 to 3 right now.
Absolutely.
And I think I want to put a moratorium on moratorium. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Good.
I don't know if I've ever used that word. So we'll cut that
word
out
of the day.
So I don't sound dumb, or we'll keep it in.
Sure.
So our dear fans can understand who they're dealing with here. I'm gonna put a moratorium on seasons 4 and later.
That sounds right. Agreed. Yeah, I just think that it's relevant because of the fact that soon the sixth or second half of the fifth is coming back.
We don't know.
We don't know. It says more coming soon on the Netflix.
It's like the coming of Christ.
Sure.
We don't know.
Someday, maybe.
Apparently.
Cool.
It's coming.
But yes, I agree.
Is it?
1 through 3. Yeah, man.
Right.
1 through 3 is awesome. I think, like I was saying, it's serialized rather than episodic. Like at the end, everything is back to normal. At the end, actually nothing's normal, and it does help to watch 2 or 3 episodes in a chunk to really get the arc of every season and every storyline.
Yeah. And I think along with the credit to the writing, the characters are so distinct. Mm-hmm. And I actually on that will disagree with you a little bit that everything goes back to normal. Mm-hmm. There is progression. There is.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I wouldn't say maybe that there's arcs.
Yeah, there are. Absolutely.
There might be season mm-hmm. like story arcs,
sure.
But for the characters, like things happen to them, but it really only just kind of adds to the jokes that come up.
Yeah,
but no, there is some kind of progression as it goes on.
Not a lot of them grow, but their situation gets worse or more bizarre.
And it only adds to the humor. Let's jump into what we remember, just so we don't spend too much time.
Absolutely. Pre-research. No, of course.
Pre-search.
Uh-huh. So you were saying that that you watched it later on in its run, in reruns or on Netflix. What do you think? When?
Yeah, this wasn't introduced to me until 2000. No. I don't remember.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes in 2000.
I'm going to say that it was introduced to me probably it was probably in its last season or the season just wrapped up because I was able to watch it on Netflix. I don't know, whenever it came out on Netflix.
Yeah.
Because I binged it. And just like you said, this show feels like it's meant to be binged. Mm-hmm. It's fantastic. I was blown away from episode 1.
Yeah, I actually watched it live and it was
wow, really
heartbreaking. Actually, the what they did to it, they would have it on for half a season, then they would take a weird break, then they would relocate it to some other night of the week. And back then it's, you gotta figure out your week if you're watching live TV. I don't do that anymore. That's ridiculous. Who does that? But it was so cool to
insane people, drunk, diabetics, people with no thumbs.
yeah. No, the people with no thumbs, they can't use their remote very well. They can't DVR things, right?
Isn't it? Yeah, okay, that's fine. Yeah, I think it falls victim to the classic Fox like non-primetime show where they bump it around until it basically gets canceled.
Yeah,
that happened to Family Guy. That happened to Firefly.
Oh yeah.
That happened to, I don't know, name a few other good shows.
Huge list of shows that have been bumped off by Fox. I mean, they list it when Family Guy comes back. All of those ridiculous shows that were given no purchase on the time slot that they lived in. Anyway, watching it live was really kind of weird because it's bite-sized. It is self-contained, and yet you're looking forward to figuring out what the hell is going to happen to them in the next episode. One thing that I do significantly remember at the end of the 3rd season, near the end, they were in threats of being canceled, and there was this great after credit promotion that was, it had Jason Bateman with Carmen Electra.
Justine Bastille.
His sister.
Justin Bieber.
Carmen Electra was standing there and he said, "This is Carmen Electra. She has no Emmys. We, Arrested Development, have 3," or however many they did.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah, something like that. And they were like, "If you get 15 million people to watch our show next week, we will give her one of our Emmys." And she would be like, "Oh, please, I really want an Emmy." And it was hilarious. It was hilarious what they were doing and how meta the 3rd season was, where they were saying, we got to take it to HBO. The housing box.
Wasn't there a couple of episodes where they left it like, if we get renewed. Or
yes, exactly. There were just so...
Hopefully we don't get canceled.
Like our lease doesn't get canceled. Yeah. The nods and the winks from the narrator, from even the actors. I mean, I don't know if they ever looked directly into the camera, but it felt almost like that was the attitude. I mean, you felt like you were in on the joke, and that was the cool thing.
Yeah, you know? Seriously.
Yeah.
It felt like improv that you go to every week and you kind of know the actors. Everything is tongue in cheek. They hang a lampshade on so many things. And it was volatile in the sense that you don't know where it's going to go or when it could possibly end. And apparently it ends at season 3.
Right there.
But then comes back.
I remember seeing crazy things like you were talking about the in jokes. There was something where some window got broken in one episode, and then 3 or 4 episodes later, they're having a conversation out on the balcony, and you're seeing like repairmen repairing that window as it was a super real existence that these people, it was all connected.
Yeah,
it was fascinating.
That's, again, I got to attribute that to good writing where everything is tied together really well. But the running gags, oh my God. I think the running gags that aren't just running, but they stack on each other. I don't know. What do you call it? Like gags going upstairs or something. Yeah. I have a gag pyramid. But,
I mean, like we talked about at the beginning, that banner. Look at Banner, Michael. Just all of the cross-outs and everything. I mean...
I really wish that it was the same banner, but I've seen it get torn a couple times. Especially when it's just like "Welcome Home, Buster" or something like that, and he goes to tear it, and it says "You're a monster, Buster." And I love that
what have you done to me, Buster?
They took the most like genteel character that they had, and they made him into a monster, and an army soldier, and a killing machine.
Buster, monster. What did you think about I mean, of course they had to do the bleeping, but I think they started rolling with the bleeping so well, and the blocking of the mouth, because you couldn't even have
that
was, I mean, there are some brilliant blocking choices for people crossing the screen or something like that, or arm position where they would swear, and you knew exactly what they were saying, but they would block their mouth and they would bleep it, and it actually added to the humor, I think.
The best instance of that is when Buster goes on that fucking rant.
Yeah, Buster, she's withholding, right?
Yeah.
And they're all just staring at him.
Oh my God. What does he, how does he finish that off? He's like, you crazy ass bitch, or something like that.
You freak bitch. Oh no, that was
you freak bitch.
No, that was when he had Franklin, the puppet. Do you remember the puppet? God, there are so many.
I forgot about Franklin. Oh my God.
And then he gets bleached.
Yeah. They whitewashed him.
Oh God. What a show.
All right, we gotta keep moving on. We gotta get to the research here.
Yeah. It's so densely packed with jokes. I don't know. I mean, just the Blue Man Group stuff and the Bob Loblaw and
Bob Loblaw.
I mean, Henry Winkler.
Bob Loblaw's Law Blog.
Henry Winkler is their... They've got the worst fucking attorneys.
Henry Winkler is amazing.
He's so good, man. Oh God,
he's really good in Barry. Also,
he takes.
I know you haven't watched that. But.
No, I'm gonna start soon, and he's also great in.
Liar.
Maybe I don't have HBO Go, and you won't let me steal it.
I know. I thought I had a second login. Right. Anyway, well, that's definitely admissible in court. Like we're cutting that part out.
Yes, we are. He's also great in Parks and Rec. And what was it? Happy Days? No, it's super cool.
No.
It was super cool that Ron Howard and him were both in this. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Can we talk about Ron Howard for a quick second?
The narrator.
He's the narrator. He definitely hangs a lampshade on his own head.
Yep. Yeah.
I know. We're not talking about later on, but he definitely does that even further.
Obviously. And he and Brian Grazer are the creators of it, and to lend his voice and how insanely necessary the narrator is for this TV series.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be half of what it is if it didn't have the self-referentialism and the connective tissue that the narrator gives the stories.
Okay.
Let's
research.
What are we talking about when we come back?
We got a lot to do.
God damn, man.
We're going to take a full week to do this one.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Take a year.
You won't know.
fuck it. This
Magic
is just
of editing.
next Tuesday for you guys, or whatever we let this go. And
exactly.
Whatever. Okay.
So let's talk about how this format of the show got launched.
Yeah, I'd like to look a little bit further into just kind of the ins and outs of what happened with it being canceled and its revival.
Yeah.
Because I have to imagine that was a huge acquisition by Netflix and purely based off of how many views that it got, because they had that on there as one of the first streaming shows on Netflix since they launched their streaming service.
I wish that Netflix would release its viewership, because that would be fascinating to know the watch numbers on it.
I feel like they never will, but I totally agree. I feel like it'd be The Office, Parks and Rec, Arrested Development. Yeah. They would be in the top 10 for sure.
Absolutely. I want to go back and even just reading a short synopsis of everything. I think there is an episode that is my least favorite, and I think both of us should figure out for a
Blasphemy.
show. But you think about it, for a show that you love so much, there's got to be a low point, right?
Yeah,
there's got to be the least of the best. So I'd like to look into that. I don't know, and I suppose look for any Easter eggs that we've missed throughout all of that.
Totally, I'm sure that there's still a joke or two that I've missed from even season 1 through 3.
Oh, totally.
Also, is least favorite episode going to be restricted to 1 through 3, or because I think 4 is too much of a shoo-in.
That's very true. Yeah, let's do that.
Not to give anything away up front.
It's a difficult watch. It'll be from 1 through 3, because those are the ones that we're most familiar with, I think.
Sure.
And we could rate them easiest. Cool.
Yep.
Well, then we'll do that, and we'll come back and talk more in your ear holes.
Gross.
Yeah. Oh man.
All right, stay tuned.
Cool.
Well, yeah. That was not a good outro.
You're a monster.
You're a monster. Let's just shout out our favorite lines from memory.
You're a crook, Captain Hook. Oh, won't you throw the book
at the pirate?
And then his pirate hook falls off just like Buster's.
Yeah. Oh my god, it's so good.
We'll be back.
Okay, once more from the bridge. Brother, lover, daughter. What is that noise?
Out of memory.
Last time on Out of Memory, we were talking about Arrested Development.
It's true. And I feel like we've made a huge mistake.
Oh my god. Oh, a huge mistake. Huge, tiny mistake. This is a behemoth of a show.
Yes.
I don't know if I've ever used that, but we've never actually re-experienced the entirety of a show before. And both Chris and I went back, took a little bit of time off from life, and watched all 19 and a half hours of the first 3 seasons of Arrested Development.
The original plan for re-experiencing this was just to watch a few episodes from each season. And we came back together after a week and pretty much decided that
wasn't
didn't
enough.
do the show justice. I feel like this is one of my favorite comedy shows I've ever watched.
I mean, yeah, I agree. It stands out for so many different reasons. It just is bizarrely unique, and I needed to experience it all again.
Yeah. So, dear ear listeners, or, I was gonna say ear viewers. So, dear audience, yeah, we went the extra mile this time, and yes, it is one of our favorites. So the research wasn't that hard to compel ourselves to participate in.
Yeah,
but there's so many things, and I still found this to be true, that every episode it's still on. This is my third watch through. Had many things that I had missed in every episode. I still found myself laughing out loud.
Oh yeah, no, this thing has jokes in it that tickle me to this day. I think one of my favorite bits, it's in the cabin show, where
cabin show?
It's the first episode of the 3rd season, where Michael tells his mother to go up to the cabin, and she says something to the effect of, oh, Michael, how am I supposed to get someone willing to go into that musty old claptrap? And there's the longest pause. And then he says, the cabin. Yes, that would be difficult too.
Jason Bateman's pauses are fucking incredible. There's a few lines that like sneak in, and like he'll start his line and then drop it, and then like give like a look back to the character that delivered theirs, and then go back into his.
Well, I think that's one of the most amazing thing about this meta show is that certain characters actually comment on the ridiculousness of the joke that was just made. That's that meta feeling of some people being on more or less standing of awareness.
Yeah,
you know?
No, totally.
Brilliant stuff.
Well, before we go any further, I think maybe we should throw a quick disclaimer out. I mean, not only is this isn't necessarily a show that like there's a tight narrative that you're following and like a pivotal arc. However, I think that the most crucial part of this show's chemistry is that the jokes build upon one another. So we are going to be spoiling a lot of inside jokes for anyone who hasn't seen season 1 through 3. You're way past the 10-year mark, so this is all fair game. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Get out of here.
But yeah, that really is the magic. And I've tried to get Girl on Couch to watch this show, and there is a little opposition to it. But I can't put on a season 3 episode, even though she's only watched the first 10 episodes or so. And I can't expect her to find it as funny as I would.
Well, there's so many things that build on each other, and also there is an
She's giving me a dirty look right now.
Hey, this is our time, Girl on Couch.
She can put an in her shoe and beat it.
It's not only the fact that the jokes build on each other, but there is an aspect of mystery to this whole show. They weave it in from time to time, and now that we've talked about the spoilers, there are law cases. There's a curiosity about who a mole might be, or what the actual crimes of the Bluth family are. There's a lot of stuff.
At some point, it gets lost. Like even they kind of hang a lampshade on it. They're like, oh yeah, they dropped all of his other crimes too for some reason. Actually, no, they do go back to that. Anyway,
they do. Yeah.
There's your disclaimer.
Sure.
So I don't expect to get any angry emails from this, except for the things that we probably missed or didn't talk about.
Oh yes, of course that.
So instead of watching 6 episodes like we originally planned, we went through everything, which comes to like 53 episodes, and it's like 19 and a half hours.
Right. It almost has I don't know if anybody has seen the show from the late 70s, early 80s called Soap, but it was about two families, two sisters.
You did send me that video. I like took a quick look at it, and I feel like even some of the set pieces look the same almost.
Right. I mean, it has a narrator at the very beginning. It's about two sisters, and it's very much soap opera-y. It was a parody of a soap opera, but it was still a multicam laugh track show, so it wasn't as what did you find?
I think it was aimed to be pretty groundbreaking, the way that Mitch Hurwitz wrote this. I think that he had tried to have this be like the first single cam comedy. And a lot of people tag this as a mockumentary, which I don't feel like it really is, because it doesn't break away and do like the interview style or the one-on-ones at all. And
true, but the
fourth wall is rarely ever broken.
It's rarely ever broken, but there are certain times where the cameraman will... there was one time where he covered the camera when Kitty is flashing Michael. At one point, they cover the camera. Sometimes you can see the boom in the shot. It's fascinating.
For jokes, yeah. I feel like they did that a lot more in season 1, where the shooting style felt a little bit more rough and handheld. Yeah. And even like the episodes with Maggie Leiser, the prosecutor,
played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Yes,
wonderfully.
Judge Ping says no cameras allowed in the courtroom, and like the cameraman gets up, and no further cameras, even from different shots, enter the courtroom. Right. They have to wait for the action to come back outside.
Exactly.
I feel like maybe that was dropped later on, but Hurwitz admittedly said that they weren't the first to adopt that style. He does cite the British Office as being like the first like single cam comedy, but I still feel like that's such a different style, though.
It is. It feels
a lot of like the quick zoom ins on or like push ins on the characters, like reactions and line deliveries are the same in that sense, but it really feels like a different format.
Apparently, you were telling me this, that a lot of the writers were on set.
Yeah, I think I heard that this is one of the early shows that adopted having multiple comedy writers. Even outside of the writing room, they had them on set for when they were shooting, just in case a line didn't work. And I guess that's kind of the style with like single cam shooting, where you don't get a whole lot of chances for retakes. Yeah. So they just kind of like they have them roll them off multiple different times in a single shot,
of course,
just to see what works best. And yeah, I mean, like the proof's in the pudding. They're just like the chemistry works. And I think brilliant. That was a lot of the feedback that I saw in a lot of the articles or interviews, is that right from the get-go, the casting was they nailed it.
And the casting, it's not only the chemistry between the characters, but the chemistry between the writing style and these actors. But I think we should focus on the amazing cast.
Focus on the amazing cast.
Yeah, you focus on it. You do it.
Sorry, I just watched 19 straight hours of Arrested Development. I feel like we're fairly focused here.
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
I think I saw in like one article I was reading that like there was one point where the writing staff didn't have a day off for like 53 days or something like that.
Jesus
something
Christ.
Crazy.
Wow, that is too much. There are some amazing people here on this cast that I don't know if they were super well known at the time. I know that Jason Bateman had done Family Ties.
AJ was actually thinking of Silver Spoons.
He was actually one of the youngest directors of his time. He actually directed one of the episodes of Family Ties when he was like 19 or 20 or something like that.
In fact, it was the Hogan family, and he was 18.
That's awesome.
Which is funny because he was the second youngest director. The first, guess who? Ron Howard. Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
What was the first thing that Ron Howard directed?
I think Happy Days. No. Yeah? Happy Days?
Yeah, that sounds right.
It wasn't.
Let's say that is sense. Fact because that was on our show.
Agreed.
Yeah, dude, Jason Bateman, honestly, one of, I think, my favorite actors. Not only just because of Arrested Development, but I'm watching Ozark now.
Right.
I've seen him in a couple of other things. And he, for the most part, he seems to be the same character. He's kind of like a Denzel Washington, where like that's who they hire to be.
That's who you got.
Person.
Yeah, you want a snarky dude.
You want to have Denzel in your story, or you want to have Jason Bateman. That's who you have. But
yeah, very much so.
Even within that of just being like that same kind of persona within a range, he still has so much flexibility and can nail dramatic points, or he can hit comedic timing really well.
He's a perfect straight man. He's a perfect guy to just sit there and sort of take the abuse from these wackier characters than him.
Man, that would have been a great segue to talk about David Cross's character.
And that was an even better one. David Cross actually was approached by Mitch Hurwitz, and he said, I really want to work with you. What would you like? And at first, Mitch Hurwitz was worried that he would say, I want the lead. I need the lead. And then
David Cross doesn't seem like that kind of an actor, though.
Like, no, exactly. And he also suggested the Buster role. And then David Cross was like, no, what about this guy who's not even in the family? Which makes a lot of sense because he doesn't feel like he would be related to any of them.
Totally. You know, that is how David Cross works on the show.
Standing outside of the family, but still being a part of the ensemble is a perfect spot for him.
Yes. Seemed like a good way for him to get a new start. Sorry, we're not talking about season 4, I know.
No, but in this series, they actually blocked out the Angus burger when he and Carl Weathers are meeting at Burger King.
Wait,
where
what?
His head would be blocking the G in the Angus burger.
No.
Yes, they did. Absolutely.
So, I mean,
yeah,
AJ, we've talked about this a few times, like in this research phase, is that like the comedy in this show is insane. And we'll get into that a little bit later on when we talk about our 10 favorite bits, if we could even limit it to that. But I think there are some insane things that happen in this show.
I think you could write a paper. Like if you were doing some sort of assignment in a college class, I think you could write a huge dissertation on this show. I think it would have to be for like history of comedy class or something like that. But there's so much to dig into here.
I don't know how I could channel that much like comedic leverage that they put into the show. I would have to be in a room with like 4 other writers and a comedian. Like, yeah. I'd have to be blowing a comedian and writing at the same time.
Just to get his essence. No, I feel like in Mitch Hurwitz's mind, if not in the actual writing room, there must be a Homeland-style board with all of these pieces of yarn connecting all of these bits. I was even listening to an interview with Tony Hale, and he was saying, sometimes I would do things that I didn't understand what was going on, and they told me I was going to lose a hand, and I was so upset about that because I like using my hands in acting. And then I realized, like 4 or 5 episodes before, there were indications that I was going to lose my hand. Yes. You know, all of these weird jokes woven in, and it was fantastic. Just brilliant. I mean, Tony Hale, who also is in Veep, plays Buster.
Well, let's go back to David Cross. Let's finish up David Cross, and then we can segue over to Tony Hale.
Hale.
Hale, yeah.
You know, Andy Dick was up for this role.
I did hear that. I also heard that Fox almost shut down David Cross having a mustache on the show. Yeah,
one of the executives didn't want him to have that, right?
Yeah, I guess they have 3 really hard rules, and one was no poofy shirts, no, I can't remember what the second one was. It was also something stupid, and no mustaches.
It was like
David
the rules
Cross had
of
to,
comedy,
really go
wasn't
to
it?
bat and fight for it.
It's like, no, this guy has to have a mustache.
Yeah, I can't imagine Tobias Funke not having a mustache on the show now.
It's just it sets him apart from literally everybody else in the show. I think if you saw a silhouette of round glasses and a mustache, you'd be like, Tobias, Arrested Development, right?
Totally. And I think that it's even funnier that it's a mustache and not a beard.
A beard, right.
His persona of having a beard as a straight person is so thin that it might as well be a mustache.
Well, and actually, funny enough, you think about an analrapist or a therapist of some sort, you would think they would have a full beard, like a Freud-esque type thing, but to have it just be the mustache is just brilliant.
Well, it, even further to that, you don't expect a doctor nor an actor to just have a mustache.
No, yeah.
And he doesn't fit either.
No, I mean, look at what happened with Henry Cavill in Mission Impossible Fallout.
Oh, I didn't even notice in Batman versus the World,
the Justice
or
League,
they,
or whatever.
They CG out his mustache.
No, but it is rare to have a mustache.
Sure.
So I suppose that is a rule.
I guess so. It's not funny. It's not actionable. It's David Cross is the only person allowed to have a mustache. There's a blooper where he takes his fake mustache off and he's like, I gotta get this back to the Smithsonian. David Cross is very, very clever.
Do you know one of the little Easter eggs? We'll get to more of them later, but
if we have time,
one of the license plate gags when he had gotten Inmate 2 and stuff like that. The last one was Dr. House.
Oh, was it really?
And funny enough, David Cross actually auditioned for Dr. House.
I cannot even fucking imagine. I think I'd like to see David Cross in something serious, and I bet he has been. I just haven't looked.
No, I think it'd be really interesting to see him as a surly old dude, solving medical things. Anyway, moving on.
I like the premise. Well, no, not yet.
No, okay.
Hold your tongue. So the premise of David Cross' character Tobias, they introduce him as a therapist and
analyst.
An analyst. That's so fucking crazy. An analyst that has lost his medical license for trying to give CPR to someone that didn't need it, somebody who was just sleeping. And I guess that is a real story that Mitch Hurwitz actually knows somebody that lost a medical license because they tried to administer CPR to somebody who was asleep.
That must have been before the Good Samaritan law came into effect. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Yes. Everything about this show is horrible. And also hilarious.
Bad doctor.
Perfect.
Are we done with Tobias?
So, yes, we can move on now. Thank you.
All right. Job might have almost been Rainn Wilson from The Office.
I did hear that.
That would have been odd.
I heard that from the notes you typed in our outline.
He's a little off-putting to me. Don't you think? Yeah. I don't think he would have been as playful as Job. Job is childlike. Will Arnett is childlike a little bit in certain times.
Rainn Wilson just kind of has that creepy air to him. Creepy baby man air. I also heard that Jeremy Piven was who they originally had conceived as possibly being Job.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, they both have the same forehead, so.
Yeah, but like Jeremy Piven is so
bitter.
dry. Like, I think you do need, to contrast Jason Bateman's straight man of Michael, I think you do need somebody a little bit more animated.
Over the top, yeah.
And I think this will go for anybody that we talk about here.
Yeah.
You can't really replace who they actually went with. Just like, they nailed the cast.
Yeah, they really did.
I can't see anybody playing Job except for Will Arnett. Like, it doesn't make sense.
No, it really doesn't. He's just, and the voice and the pageantry that he brings to it is pretty brilliant.
Yeah. He's always operating at an 11.
Talking about the opposite side of the coin, Tony Hale is the most, as Buster, is the most...
He plays Iron Man.
That's right. Tony Hale Stark. Hale Stark. Hail Hydra?
Hail House of Stark.
He plays it so introverted and backing away all the time. Apparently, Tony Hale's wife had to like coax him out of the role when he would come home.
Oh my God. So
because
good.
He would be like,
touching his ears.
I think that the closest characters actually are Tony Hale and Michael Cera.
Oh, really?
Well, they're both very timid guys.
Oh.
They both, belong in the Milford Academy. And
you can always tell Milford, man.
Yeah.
Since this was my third watch through,
yeah.
The more subtle comedy became more accentuated for me, or like it stood out more because I just hadn't noticed it.
Sure.
So as like my first pass through, I didn't as much care for Tobias or Buster as much. I appreciated that they were there and understood like how they structurally supported how everything was happening.
Yeah.
But like Buster really stuck out to me, and Tony Hale's performance, like in a lot of scenes, he absolutely nails it as this chinless boy man who becomes a monster.
He has his own arc, absolutely. I mean,
he absolutely does. Maybe more so than most characters, actually.
Well, I mean, he goes through multiple love interests. He goes through
multiple appendages.
He goes through the army, mother.
He goes through army, yes.
And he goes through real he
struggles with some serious daddy issues.
Oh God, yes.
Hey, you said my father was my father, but my uncle is my father. My father is my uncle.
Hey, Uncle Father, which is apparently a reference to Hamlet.
Oh, is it?
Uncle Father, because Hamlet calls Claudius his Uncle Father because his uncle killed his father and became king and married his mother. So I don't know if that's a definite reference, but that's what he says in the script of the Shakespeare play. How crazy.
Sorry, I was asleep.
Oh, yeah.
What were you talking about?
Thanks. And, of course, let's not forget about Lindsay, Portia de Rossi. She is fantastic. They were actually thinking about... I don't know if you ever watched The Sopranos. Did you?
No, I didn't.
Okay,
Not even an episode.
No, I watched about the first season, but I was super young for it, and I think we got HBO canceled at that time.
Oh, how did you do that?
I don't know. And then I brought it back with Game of Thrones. Yay. But they actually almost went with Ida Totoro, who is the sister of James Gandolfini's character, Tony Soprano. And
interesting.
She was going to be, it was almost going to be a switched version of maybe sort of being the rebel of the family. She was going to be sort of a hippie, schlubby type of character.
Interesting.
Rather than being the poised, younger version of Lucille, essentially.
I don't think that would work. I feel like her character kind of was written to be who she was in season 1, and then it evolves into. I feel like they kind of downplay her a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like in season 1 they have her more of an anchor for Michael.
Yes.
Where you can see a lot of that sibling interaction a lot, where there's that time where they're friends a little bit, they bounce things off one another.
They get drunk
she
together.
Holds Michael's secret of being in love with Marta, and then they kind of downplayed that, and they more just make her I don't know, more brash and
ditzy.
Yeah, ditzy, and maybe just more self-absorbed.
Yeah, well, she's constantly trying to get out of her relationship at that point.
She is, which is still funny and great.
Yeah.
But I feel like that you lose a little bit of her character, and she more becomes just kind of a tool of the show.
Yeah, that's very true. Where people are using her, or she's a foil for Tobias.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, they almost become a comedy duo, and yet Tobias is still able to stand on his own for a lot of his bits, just because he's very self-enclosed as how they present him.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I still love her portrayal of it, but she does jump from cause to cause effervescently. She's just sort of missing the mark on everything. She doesn't exactly understand what is going on all the time.
Yeah, just again, I feel like she's more
especially Shamale.
Yeah, instrument of the machina rather than driving anything.
Let's before we get to the kids, what about the matriarch?
She still works. Sorry.
Oh no, absolutely no. She still works, and she is, I think, an essential part of the cast.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I mean, her stories and the things she gets into are hilarious, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, agreed.
Should we get into the matriarch and the patriarch of this family?
Let's do it. George Bluth Sr.
Played
by Jeffrey Tambor.
Also Oscar, Jeffrey Tambor.
Who ends up being one of my more favorite characters that he plays. Even though Oscar's not in it all the time, like when Oscar is in it, I really appreciate him, especially in scenes where George and Oscar are in the same room. Because he switches between them very seamlessly.
I don't know why, but my mind actually thinks of them as two people. Like, he really does an amazing job of playing such a meek, stony character as Oscar, and a hard, angry, bitter, self-involved character as George Sr.
Yeah, I 100% appreciate his commitment to both those roles as being individual, even as phoned in as possibly the costume change is, and funny in so that it's really just putting a wig on him.
Yeah.
He really does embody both characters separately.
And
even in scenes where Oscar has been shaved and George Sr. is trying to make an escape, you really can tell fairly soon after he says something that it's Oscar and he's been fooled.
Oh, Oscar, when will you learn there's no such thing as free shrimp? No, he's a great man. No, it's you know what? That's one of the biggest nods to the whole soap opera-y feel of this show is the twins. You know, the fact that they play them off each other and that they have so many intrinsic things in the storylines that would have to happen with twins.
It's funny because as not really even a foil to that, but just kind of like a shitty side example, Michael and Lindsay for most of the show are supposed to be twins.
Yeah, and
that rarely comes up. I
think they refer to it.
They only kind of refer to it in season 1.
Yeah, exactly. And then finally to pull it back,
the very last episode.
Yeah, very last episode, and then the explanation of that she's adopted is so odd, because why would anybody think, if she's 3 years older than him, why would anybody have bought that they were twins? Did they adopt her right when they had Michael? And then he was a baby and she was a 3-year-old?
I don't remember.
Only one.
I do like, and it totally fits with the family that they only adopted her to steal her from under the Sitwells, who are their rival company.
You were going to be named Natalie.
Yeah.
God, I love Stan Sitwell, Ed Begley Jr. But
Jeffrey Tambor wasn't even supposed to be in the show past the pilot. He was asked to be on it as a favor.
And funny enough, instead of him, they were asking if Robert fucking De Niro could play the bit part.
That would have been awful.
That would have been very weird. After shooting the pilot, Jeffrey Tambor was like, I want to be a part of all of these.
Yeah,
so
because the chemistry works so well.
But in fact, that's interesting because that forced them to use the prison more. And I couldn't see this show without the prison aspect of it, because
the prison is such a pivotal setting for a lot of the scenes that happen, and not just for Jeffrey Tambor, but also for the various characters that cycle through that setting.
Yeah, Job, Tobias, the warden. I think that's
the lawyer.
The lawyer, yes, of course, Barry Zuckerkorn.
Well,
I also think that it prolongs the joke of the title of the show. It's Arrested Development. It always has to do with legal jeopardy.
Yes, and I feel like they can never let that go to some extent, and I think they do a fairly good job of not. Even when there are episodes where prison isn't involved, but there's still house arrest.
Yes, exactly. More touching.
More touching. Oh my God. We'll get into that. All right, let's talk about Jessica Walter as
Jessica Walter.
Lucille Bluth, who I feel is probably the Rock of the Bluths in the way that she embodies that this family is horrible and wealthy and has heuristics that do not embody the common person nor even common society's way of thinking.
Yeah.
So much so that
Michael, what did it cost? $10?
$20. But there's a lot of racism and political views that
disconnection from
and disconnection from society that I was surprised to see. And I feel, coming from obviously a white dude, I feel like some of the humor around race has aged fairly well in that all of it is the joke of it is built upon is distasteful.
Yeah. That even if someone is being racist, the point of view of the show is clearly that is not the right thing.
Yeah, like that's hilarious because that's fucking awful. Like, you obviously can't say that.
No, yeah. I mean, all of the
anything with Lupe.
Lupe, yes, exactly. She's actually
She no does Buster.
She no does Buster no more. I mean, and there are
you told me you were too good to polish the candlesticks. Anyway, Jessica Walter.
Yeah, Jessica Walter.
As awful as her character is, the actress is phenomenal. I have no idea how old Jessica Walter is, but she nails it with such lewd comedy sometimes. It blows my mind.
I've seen interviews with her, and she said, sometimes I just said the joke. I didn't understand the joke, but
I was kind of hoping that's what the situation was sometimes, because some of it is really racy for a lady of her age.
Oh, yeah. Well, she's born in 1941, so that makes her...
almost 80.
77, I believe? Yeah, 77. Yeah. My dad's born in 1945, and he's 73 this year. So, really? Yeah, that was the birthday that he just celebrated. She has been on so many... She was on One Life to Live, the TV series. What did she do? I don't know. Anyway.
I want to see if she was a fox.
Oh, and she also played Fran Sinclair in The Dinosaurs.
No,
show.
She didn't.
Yes,
That's
she
fucking
did.
Amazing.
Isn't that awesome? She was also in...
She was a fox when she was younger. I'm looking at pictures right now.
Oh, yeah. No, she was on so many different shows. The Love Boat. She was 10 years old when she started her acting career. She's been acting forever. I love her as Mallory Archer, as basically the same role in Archer. So, speaking of... Well, we've talked about Jeffrey and Jessica. I just want to address the elephant in the room because we want to be, aware. There was some issues with Jeffrey Tambor's conduct.
Yes.
And he apparently was horrible to her on set during a couple of times. Yeah.
So I don't know anything about it. I just know that there are some kind of allegations.
Yeah, he was kicked off his show Transparent for sexual harassment, but in this show, he was verbally abusive to her, and apparently the hours were long. I'm not apologizing for him at all because the other guys in the cast already did that and already apologized for that. But she said that she's never experienced that in her entire acting career, which is just shitty.
That sucks.
Yeah, I hate that happened. It's always in the back of my mind now when I watch something with Jeffrey Tambor, but he is such an integral part of this show, and it's not on screen. That issue isn't on screen, so I have a hard time rationalizing that. But still, it's an issue. I wanted to bring it up. It's a shame, but they have such amazing chemistry together.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that they had this experience. I'm not glad that they had the off-camera experience, but
because I haven't heard about any other things that are. I don't know, it seemed like the cast wasn't getting along. Besides that, and even so, I didn't look too closely at it, but I thought that Jessica Walters was coming to his defense, but I guess that's not.
No, she broke down in the New York Times interview. There's audio of it. You can listen to it, but that's not the focus of this show.
No, but I mean, hey, that's what's happening now. So
yeah, I do not approve. We'll just
I'm
put
pretty
that on
sure
record.
that's season 4 and 5 stuff. So we'll get back to that if we
That's
do another
absolutely
episode.
true.
And honestly, I feel like even just going through season 1 through 3, I feel
Yeah.
like the later seasons do warrant maybe a later episode.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, we will definitely do another foray into this.
Sure.
Let's talk about the kids real quick.
Real quick.
Alia Schwalkat was 14 and Michael Cera was 15 when they started these roles. George Michael almost was recast as a guy named Michael Angarano. He's in The Nick and I'm Dying Up Here most recently. And it was because of a visa expiration that Michael Cera is Canadian and he almost wasn't able to finish the pilot, so they were going to reshoot it with this other guy. Funny enough, if you take a look at him on IMDb or the internets, he actually looks much more similar to Jason Bateman than Michael Cera.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I do like Michael Cera in the George Michael role.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe in season 1 he might be more 1 or 2 dimensional. He's fairly flat, but they do kind of break him out a little bit and give him some dimensions in later seasons. I do know that coming onto the show, he wasn't completely convinced that the show would last. I guess he was on another show that had started shooting and they canceled it before it even launched, so he was kind of devastated by that.
Oh, man.
But he did take the opportunity to study one of his heroes that was in the cast of the show, which was David Cross, for his like comedic timing and whatnot. So I'm glad that he did stick with it. And Alia Schwalkat, like I think she's fantastic. I've seen her in some recent stuff like Broad City. She was in what was it, Whip It? No, what was the roller derby one?
That sounds right. Whip
Sure.
It?
Let's say it was.
I don't know. Yeah. I just love the name Maybe for her.
Yes.
And I mean, she is just so different from everybody else on the cast, but she's so out there and just self-possessed. I absolutely love the turn where she is the studio executive.
Yes.
Blew my mind. You know, her just being able to interact and be so confident in those scenes with the adults.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned her name, and she is very enigmatic. So I think that like maybe like works so well, and even beyond her personality, it's such a maybe almost the entire series if it's actually George Michael's cousin or not, like what the relation to the family is.
Maybe.
And they don't play around with her name until later on in the 4th and 5th season, I think.
But they do have the thing where she's pretending to be her twin, Shirley.
Oh yeah, Shirley, yes.
Shirley and Maybe.
Yes.
It's
Amazing.
Brilliant.
These fucking writers.
Well, do you know that they, again, the insanely deep Easter eggs, you can see before she even comes out as Maybe, or as Shirley, there are posters all around the school saying, "Save Shirley."
Yes.
God. The set design, which is so funny because later on they take a pot shot at themselves saying those Hollywood sets with all of the intricacy, and they open up one of the
and there's nothing in the
there's
cabinets.
just a Starbucks cup or a Nutri-Grain bar. Brought to you by Nutri-Grain.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the last major character to really mention. That is Ron Howard as the narrator. The narrator really ties this show together and really keeps it lighthearted. I feel like without the narrator, I think things could be taken out of the intended context, and maybe you feel like they were trying to be more heartfelt than they actually are. So I'm very appreciative of not only this whole show and the cast and the writing, but like of the narrator specifically, just that it really frames things in the light sense that it really should all be taken.
It's a very objective view of their lives because he will correct them out of nowhere and call them out on their bullshit. But they weren't.
Yeah.
He didn't.
It wasn't.
I mean, there are so many Happy Days and Andy Griffith references in this show.
Yeah.
It's insane.
And with that, let's pivot very slightly to other Happy Day character that was on the show quite often, Barry Zuckerkorn, played by Henry Winkler. Fantastic. Like, they have the worst fucking attorneys.
They do. They skirt these weird taboo subjects all over the place in the show and keep it lighthearted. Like, he is apparently pansexual and just the most odd dude ever.
He really is.
He may be a prostitute of some sort. There's so many.
Maybe I could just make out. You can still get $50 for that.
$50 for that, right? Is that just delay?
He tells he tried to convince the Bluths to take this giant plea deal that their lawyer, didn't read at all. And Michael finally at the end, after Barry's like, well, fine, then you read it. And he's like, well, we'll take the plea deal. And he goes, I could kiss you on that. And they bleep out whatever he was going to kiss him on. I like to think it was his dick or something like that. And Michael's like, okay, well, what? What?
Wait, what? That's that weird meta humor of if that statement was made and everybody laughed, but he looks at him and he's like, what are you talking about?
And the fact they bleep it out to keep it like a mystery of what he actually said makes it all the better.
Well, and I think it's so brilliant. The bleeping, I think we talked about this, the bleeping and the covering of the mouth.
Yeah.
Just like people will lean into frame to cover the other person's mouth, or they'll make a hand gesture to cover. It's so brilliantly done. Funny enough, Henry Winkler in one episode jumps over a shark on the dock.
That was the Burger King episode.
That was a reference to him as the Fonz jumping his motorcycle over a shark tank, which begat the phrase jumping the shark for a show that has gone on too long or is out of ideas.
So fucking funny.
It's so brilliant. I mean, I guess that's easy, but I mean, you got to throw that up on the board and say we need to work this in sometime. Being surrounded by such a heavy filled joke thing, I don't know.
No, that's the perfect descriptive. I'm pretty sure that's how the New York Times framed it. You have a note in here about Liza Minnelli was his babysitter.
It was Ron Howard's babysitter, actually. What? Yeah, also, and that's how they got her.
I admitted this to you before we went to the research phase, but I didn't realize that was actually Liza Minnelli. I thought that was, I thought it was a lookalike. I just never paid attention to the credits.
She is so over the top.
She's so over the top. It's not
my
fault.
Oh my God, no, not at all. She feels like
I'm all right.
She's playing to the back of the fucking hall. It's so funny to see her against any other character in this show. She's just Liza Minnelli to 11.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Let's really quickly go through other like mentionable recurring characters and guests, but like really quick because
I think we talked about Ed Begley Jr. He's great. Ben Stiller we talked about. James Lipton as the warden. He's the guy for Inside the Actors Studio. Improv. You know, he's that.
Have you beaten with a pillowcase full of batteries?
Why do I assume everyone's read my script?
For the woman who gave me chlamydia, anything.
He's got the greatest voice. Gene Parmesan is not in as many episodes as I thought, but he is referenced back to,
so many.
You know, but Martin Mull from, you know, Clue and everything else that he's done. Wayne Jarvis. John Michael Higgins is in all of the Christopher Guest movies.
He's the straight man.
Oh my God, he is, but he plays such a straight man in this one.
Yes.
It's wonderful.
I use one adjective to describe myself.
What would it be? Professional. Goodbye, Michael. Bob Loblaw is played by Scott Baio, who was Chachi on Happy Days.
Really?
And funny enough, Jessica Walter plays a character in Joni Loves Chachi, the spinoff of Happy Days. But Scott Baio, when he comes in, he's like, this is not the first time I've replaced Barry Zuckerkorn. Also, I can skew younger. And that's what they were looking for in Happy Days. It's bizarre.
So
and of
funny.
course, Carl Weathers plays Carl Weathers.
That, to me, that's fascinating. And I would love to know more about that. Didn't research it. Maybe we'll get into that.
Sure.
Does Carl Weathers show up in season 4 or 5? I can't remember.
Not that I remember. So. I think they were trying to get him back, but I don't know.
Season 5 is only half over, so we'll see.
That's true. Then one of the most high-profile characters is Rita Leeds, who's played by Charlize Theron.
Yes.
I mean, that she's probably the most famous person they got.
She's probably
they were not that
the
popular.
longest lasting guest character that's a love interest that sticks around. Because Rita must be in 6 episodes?
5-6 episodes,
sure.
Yeah, I think so. They even reference back to her later on in the 3rd season.
Yes.
For like, she's running a studio. at one
That's
point.
right.
By the way,
there's some kind of newspaper article about how she like bungled a movie or something like that.
Brain bungles a movie. By the way, I paused on both of those articles.
I paused on every article just to see like what crazy crap they threw in there. I think for a lot of the articles, they just changed the headlines, and like the rest of it is like a real article.
Not for that episode. That episode is insanely detailed. It's like 4 or 5 paragraphs. Like the Funke one is so detailed. It talks about interviewing her family and everything like that. They did a lot of detailed work.
Interesting.
Anyway, she's great. I just wanted to mention Dr. Stein. Remember when they have the crazy doctor who keeps misleading them, and then they're like, not him, we're going with this other guy.
Yeah.
He's the experimental doctor.
Yeah, he's awful. Also, Dr. Stein, nod to Dr. Frankenstein. Just throwing that out there real quick.
Also voiced by Dan Castellaneta, who does Homer.
Also
from
acted
The
by...
Simpsons.
Oh, is that really Homer? Oh, shit, I didn't know that.
Because at one point he says, oops, I switched your fingers.
No, that was the other doctor, wasn't it? Oh, that's Homer?
That's Homer.
The little doctor, the experimental doctor?
The little dude who's bald,
Oh, shit.
And then...
Sorry,
and then,
I thought you were talking about the too literal doctor.
Oh, no, that's the other guy. But Dr. Stein, and when he says dough, Jessica Walter says, I knew it! Weirdest little stuff, man.
So fucking funny. Who the fuck thinks of that? I
don't know.
Some of the humor is crazy, and I think that's a good point to pivot to what our top 10 bits are, which I'm pretty sure we on our list have like 17.
Sure,
right.
Yeah, top 17.
God damn it.
Well, first of all, look at Banner.
Look at Banner, Michael.
I mean, the Banner is so I don't know why
it almost becomes a character.
It does. There's like You're Killing Me, Buster, Family Love Michael.
Michael
what are
Love
some
Marriage.
of the other ones? Michael Love Mary.
Marriage. Oh yeah,
I don't know. You're Kidding Me,
Welcome
Buster. Welcome Rita. Oh God. And then other things like So Long Partners, the Mission Accomplished thing.
Oh, yeah.
Also, real quick.
Oh God, break out the
this
soapbox.
This show focuses a lot around 9/11 and all of the aftermath with Bush. There's pictures of Rumsfeld and Saddam. There's so much talk about terrorists and WMDs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it actually, like, that was
they embrace
truly,
all that and hang a lampshade on it, and also call out a lot of like serious political topics as they go. And I feel like, I know we're not talking about it, but even season 4 and 5 also touch on current day topics along those same lines.
And oddly, it was shot before the dude in charge now even brought up the wall.
Yeah.
That's the weirdest part of it.
Yes. I would be happy if we never mentioned his name on this show, actually.
That's why I didn't.
Great. Let's make that a thing.
I wonder if we're going to lose anybody.
Let's make that a precedent.
Yeah.
No?
It's
Nothing?
And so it shall be. And so it shall be. What were some of your favorite bits?
Job's constant throwing in like magic tricks I think is fucking great. Not only trying to produce like a fireball, like the lighter fluid going everywhere, but where did the lighter fluid come from? And him lighting 2 of Michael's brides on fire. No, I guess only one. And
just the one.
Tobias.
And then Tobias.
That bit is fucking incredible. But also the money coming out of his like money launchers in the constant meetings. Yeah. You could take $100 and make it 100 pennies. And Michael later refers back to that as like, yes, you haven't robbed the company of anything more than $99 so far.
I actually, one of the sweetest moments was when Rita was walking away.
Yeah.
And she says, "Oh, Michael, you're such a grown-up." And she walks away on water. Yeah. And just the musical cue there.
The musical cue
so
and the framing is excellent. And Michael turns to Job and says, Was that your trick? And he says, "No, Michael, it wasn't my trick." And then it ends the episode.
And then it fades.
And then it cuts to on the next Arrested Development, and he says, "It was my illusion." And he catches Tobias on fire.
It's on fire. Why am I not going underwater? Why am I not going underwater?
That is the crescendo of so many jokes in that show. It's not only Job's constant lighter fluid like mishaps and him lighting Michael's past wife on fire, but also it's the end of Tobias's hair plugs.
My hair. One of the weirdest things is how they unrolled what happened to his wife and how dismissive all of them are.
All of them are. Even Heather Graham laughs about it. It's like, this isn't another one of your dead wife jokes, is it? She had ovarian cancer.
Also, as young Michael, he even says something about, "And Tracy'll never marry me." And I was like, wait, were they dating since like high school?
Interesting. I didn't pick up on that.
There's so many tiny little things once you watch it 5 or 6 times.
I feel like I'm going to have to, like, as soon as we're done with this episode, watch it again.
Yeah,
I won't. I'm so fatigued. Oh, my God.
Start it back up. Oh, God, there's too many things. I think Final Countdown falls into his magic.
Yes.
One of the biggest things, because it is about a character, the names for Anne.
Yeah. So I particularly enjoyed this joke on my third watch through of this show.
Yeah.
Even the first interaction with Anne, where they're talking about the man egg or whatever. Egg. And Michael immediately starts with the name swapping just because she's so forgettable. And he refers to her as Egg, and he's George Michael's like, well, I think I really like her. I want to get her a diamond. He's like, you don't need to get her a diamond. You don't need to get her all glitzed up for Easter. And like that progresses so quickly, and then it just becomes such a staple of that Anne character that every time she came back, I was laughing my ass off.
I don't feel like there are any wasted words or lines in this entire show.
Yeah, maybe not.
Like everything is a setup or a payoff for a joke.
Exactly. Real quick, let's go through the names for Anne. They call her Anne, really only just George Michael. Egg, Bland, Plant, Her, Bell, Wall, Plain, Yam, Mouth, Blank, and that church thing. One of my favorite lines is Michael has a moment where he drops his ego for a second and he encourages George Michael to get back with Anne. And he says, no, you guys are perfect for each other. And he says, really? And Michael says, yeah, it says Anne as the nose on Plain's face.
That's just brilliant writing. Come on. Come on. That's just one of my favorites. And also, they recast her from the first to second season.
What?
Or first to second time that you see it. Yeah. Oh. The first time she meets George Michael at the banana stand, that's not Mae Whitman. No. Just like they recast Martha.
Yes. I have the biggest problem with that.
Yeah, me too.
I do like all the Marthas, though.
I do too.
But the first one's way more attractive.
I was way more attracted to the first one. Yes. Agreed. Mr. Banana Grabber and the whole banana stand.
Should I be equally as attracted to the second Martha as the first one?
Should the guy in the foot.
Just stop.
Anyway, I'm done. Mr. Banana Grabber and the banana stand. Yes. It is based on a cookie stand that Mitch Hurwitz and his brother started when they were 13 and 15, respectively, and it's still running.
No way.
It's still...
and that is the actual dock, right?
In Newport Beach. It's called the Chipyard, and it still runs out of Boston, apparently, and you can get it online. Go to the Chipyard.
The reoccurrence of the one tape that the family owns. And even George Michael says,
we need to get
he's trying to
tape.
show Michael the footage of Rita eating the fake fruit. And he's like, and it goes to the Star Wars kid bit.
Yeah.
And he's like, I wish we had another tape. They're just so expensive.
I think he says they're not that expensive.
Oh, does he really?
I think that's even better. But there's so many times where they cut to like a picture or something as example, as if it is a documentary.
Like George Sr. and Kitty, I think is a good example. Like that,
right?
Grabbing each other's legs under the table.
Exactly. But I love when they say something that's a lie, and then they just cut to a white screen that says footage not found. That's mind-bogglingly brilliant. Yes. We talked about the misleading doctor.
Yes. J. Walter Weatherman. Always good for teaching you a lesson. He is why you leave a note.
And he's why you don't yell.
That's why you don't teach your kids a lesson.
That's why you don't teach your father a lesson.
That's why you don't pit Job and I against each other. I read that as J. Walter Weatherman, but it really is Michael.
And that's why you don't use a one-armed person to scare people. Maybe he said it. I don't know.
Buster says it. They don't use J. Walter Weatherman, I think, in the second season at all, but he is appreciated, and I believe he comes back in the fourth season or fifth season.
Yeah, I think I don't remember when, but yeah, probably.
We're not talking about that anyway. Forgot I
No, he's fun. That's just such an odd idea to have, though. First of all, to think of teaching your children a lesson, being so self-centered and manipulating.
Yes.
To do that as a father, but also to hire a guy who has one arm so that you can show in every situation that it's important to do something because you'll tear off a man's arm. That's why
it was scarring and effective.
That is true. Oh, God. Yeah. I shouldn't cry. I can't spare the moisture. I'm so glad I didn't cry.
I think that joke is
so gross.
Even though it's not like a running gag or anything like that, like it's so good. It's so good. Mom even called me and asked me to bring over some vegetable paste.
I mean, that goes along with the musty old claptrap.
Yeah, exactly. I hope that was one of the lines that she didn't understand. It's so subtle and so good. That's one of the ones that gives Michael pause when she delivers that. She's like,
yes.
I can't spare the moisture. And he starts to deliver his next line and he stops to look back at her. Another
one of those running gags is that Oscar keeps alluding to the fact that he is Buster's father.
Yes, that's a great one too.
Every single time there's that soap opera music, but the first time that Michael is in the room with him and it plays, and then he starts saying his line and he looks at him and he's like, "Oh, shut up." and then Oscar says, "No, you shut up."
In season 3, it's like the second or third to last episode. They have a weird episode where there's a part where you put on your 3D glasses. I don't know how much of that was like real and how much of it was kind of like tongue in cheek, making fun of other desperate shows.
I think all of it was them being so desperate for viewers that it was going to, because there used to be like a musical show or a all 3D show or a call-in show or some. That's right. The last segment of that is live because sometimes they would do live shows. No, I don't think it was. Because it's just her line.
Yeah. But anyway, they frame the show, like they try to make it like a ridiculously desperate and exciting show, and they frame it by saying, "And someone by the end of this episode will die." And they show like a series of cuts of like kind of dramatic like scenes, like Andy Richter holding Michael up against the wall with his arm. But the line that's delivered is like Job accidentally becomes a waiter and he's like flirting with all the old ladies, and one of like the oldest ladies makes a very racist comment. And another great example of how the show like takes racist things that like older white people say, and they really do frame it in a very distasteful way.
They're like, this is what people say.
Yes.
We're not saying it's good.
No, it's not good.
In fact, we're calling her out for being a racist old lady.
Yeah, they're by no means sweeping under the rug things that actually happen. They are kind of hanging a lampshade on it, but anyway, she delivers this like extremely like, I want to say it's a racist line that might even be beyond her years, and she was fairly old.
She's like 90 or something.
But Ron Howard jumps in as the narrator and says, we'll just go ahead and tell you, she's the one that dies. And it's like in the middle of the episode. And then they finally do come back to it at the very end. And they say, and that old racist lady, she choked on Buster's thumb.
She's actually on Parks and Rec.
Oh yeah, she plays the one that marries a bunch of people. Yeah. She's fantastic. It's a shame that she's so racist.
I know. God, why does she keep getting hired? I think we should we talk about Easter Ands or least favorite episode?
We could go into Easter Ands and then come back to least favorite. And I think the least favorite is kind of a good way to kind of close it up and then
to wrap it up. Yeah. So let's just rapid fire these. In Avengers Infinity War, who do we see?
We see Tobias Funke in all blue makeup, like somewhere in the background, like on one of the alien ships. And
of the Collectors.
And I rewatched that movie again. I couldn't see it because it happens so quickly.
It's when
they climb aboard the ship, right?
No, it's when Star-Lord, Gamora, and Drax confront Thanos on Nowhere.
Ah, okay. Got it.
He's sitting in one of the Collector's cages.
Is it actually David Cross?
No, it's not actually him. He was on a late night show and he said, well, it's not me, but it is my character. It's weird.
It's so funny.
The reason why is because the directors of Infinity War, Civil War, and Winter Soldier are the Russos, Anthony and Joe Russo, who actually directed the pilot and some of the other episodes of Arrested Development, which is why in Captain America Civil War, they throw in the stair car at the German airport fight.
Good. It's funny because Mike Hurwitz has a quote referring to the Russo brothers that he's surprised that they're directing the Marvel movies because they weren't that good. But a lot of people believe that's a joke. And it very well might be.
Gotta be a joke, because they actually went on to direct some of the episodes of Community, which is fantastic. I mean, I like it. You want to take the Franklin shirt?
Yeah. In season 3.
Well, we didn't even talk about Franklin.
No, so Franklin is definitely one of my favorite like sub characters, when he's half of the pimp that is pimping Nellie. But in one of the episodes of season 3, Franklin's wearing a shirt that says George Bush doesn't care about black puppets, like
referring to the Kanye quote.
So good.
And also, I love when he bleaches him, and he comes out and he does the voice,
ruined the act, Job.
And he's like, "You've ruined the act, Job."
And the subtle thing I'd never noticed is that Will Arnett, like he shakes his head as after he delivers that line, thinking like, "Nope, that doesn't work. It's no longer funny."
Nope.
I feel like there's more of these than I actually found, but there's incorrect translations, like things that they will say in a foreign language, and as opposed to what they actually display as the subtitles on screen. But Buster runs away from home and starts living with Lupe and her family, thinking that it's Mexico. And Lupe says in Spanish, "Oh, now I have to take care of Buster as well." But what she actually says is, "I have to take care of Retardo." But the translation says Buster.
Well, I wonder. I'm not even close to speaking Japanese. I wonder what the Japanese investors said in that Mr. F episode.
Dude, that is one of the greatest episodes.
Mr. F.
They keep coming back to that for so many different things. Mr. F is Franklin. He's also Tobias Funke.
Also, I love when they use the sting of Mr. F, and then they're like, no, this is completely different. And then there's another sting right after that says, different!
Also, when George Michael goes to the that school that maybe went to, where it's like, no, we don't give out letter grades. We give out an L for learning
or something.
Or you get fractured
or you're
like fluctuating. Yeah, he's like, oh, what is that? He's like, that's an F. And he goes, Mr. F.
There are so many Easter eggs in this show. I mean, we've barely scratched the surface, but
barely cracked the shell.
Great. One of the greatest ones that I think so many people miss is there are 2 fictional restaurants. One, Miss Temple's, which they always refer to as being busy on Friday nights, and Skip Churches, which is super popular for Sunday brunch. And if you think about it, if you were Jewish or Christian,
got it.
If you were going to this place on Friday night, you would be skipping temple.
I just got the Miss
and
Temple.
Sunday morning, you're skipping
so
church.
Good.
What? God, so detailed. Before we get into our least favorite episodes, I just want to say this show has such a weird, cartoonish, alternate reality feel.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this when I was rewatching it, and it's mainly because there are references to actual people, humans that exist in the real world, concepts that exist in the real world, like the war, like Bush and Carl Weathers and stuff like that. But then there are these weird random holidays, these movies that don't exist, products that don't exist, fictional restaurants, and music that completely encapsulates the show's feel, but also sound like you should recognize it in your world, but they've originated from a completely unique source.
Yeah. And that's the commitment of the show that I really respect and appreciate a lot, is building on their inside jokes and
creating a world.
You should know them because you've been watching the show. You in turn as a viewer are so invested that it's compound humor. And I don't know many other shows that cash in on that like this one does.
I mean, they keep talking about the Magician's Alliance and Mother Boy and Tantamount Pictures.
Fucking Tantamount. Oh, it's okay. It's more important to show how it's made than to actually show the show. All right. What do we hate about this show?
Yeah. Oh, no. It's difficult. In my least favorite episode, I'm going to make a decision right now.
Sorry, I'm reading your notes on what you're about to say. Go ahead.
I was waffling between Exit Strategy, which is the second to last episode, which takes place in Iraq, or Prison Break-In. And I'm going to pick Prison Break-In because that's the episode where they hold the gala for Graft versus Host, which is
I got that mixed up with the one where Job says he'll break out of jail in season 1.
Oh no, that
is one of my favorite
that
montages in it, when Job is trying to swallow the key so badly. He ends up like drinking like 2 bottles of whiskey at the same time to swallow it, but like he's so celebratory and like just like shirtless and a maniac. Like
it's like you're trying to feed a pill to a dog.
It's so close.
No, that's a fantastic episode. Prison Break-In has some fun parts to it, but I feel like it's gone back to the well of the prison, and a lot of the jokes are a bit of a repeat and a bit of a...
Wait, that's the one with she's so glad she didn't cry.
Oh, I know. I'm not saying that there aren't great parts to it, but it's my least favorite. There are some great things like, do you have another take in you, when he falls off the balcony or the banister?
Or when he's trying to read the map off of Job's stomach and they open the prison gate. He's like, hey, you boys want to take this party inside?
Well, and that's a reference to one of their concurrent shows during that time, which is Prison Break.
Oh, really?
That was also on Fox.
I didn't realize that.
There's a lot of references to that, but also like I'm definitely not a prude, and I like gross humor and stuff. Maybe I don't know about that either, but there's a lot of Tobias throwing.
There's a lot
up
of gross shit.
Just
or blood just shooting out of the side of his neck.
Oh my God, just grosser stuff than I'd ever seen in this show. So it felt a little bit differently toned. So yeah, that's pretty much. Also, I love the reference to Steffi Graf versus Donnie Most.
It's Host.
Because he was also on Happy Days. Once again, what about you? What was your least favorite and better reasoned explanation?
So, I don't know about better reason. I feel like it's a similar reason where I could still call out at least 3 or 4 things that really made me laugh out loud, which is saying a lot because I watch contemporary comedy shows and sometimes I don't laugh at all. Like I acknowledge that it's funny on paper, but it still doesn't make me guffaw. But so I'm settled on Ready, Aim, Marry Me, which I think is season 2. Maybe it's the beginning of season 3.
I think
but
it's
the one with Martin Short, and it's purely because Martin Short I feel like he doesn't fit in that world. He's too over the top and comical. And I would even say that as much as I love her, like Julia Louis-Dreyfus, I feel like pushes that boundary also, where I almost find her unpalatable in this format. But Martin Short definitely like way over the fucking top. And there's still funny things that like Martin Short gets a laugh out of me, like when he's on the back of the horse and it's galloping along the beach and he's like throwing up. I can't remember what the line he says. It's like towel. But yeah, I don't know. Like that. It tries to make light of like a lot of things. You just disable people in a distasteful way, and just I don't know. But it didn't feel like it.
It did feel like because there was a guest star, it had to center around that.
It's also the structure of it's kind of messy. Also, I don't know if Lindsay is on a date with her uncle. Like I don't. Maybe I didn't play close.
Well, he's not really their uncle.
Oh, okay.
They keep referring back to that.
Uncle Jack. Okay, maybe that's part of the joke.
Yeah. Also, funny enough, that character was based on a guy named Jack LaLanne, which was a workout guru back in the day. Yeah, yeah. It was some of the things were too easy. Yeah. Like when he says "to the nuts" and the guy is deaf and he takes him to Michael's balls. Yeah. I was like, what?
It's such Martin Short comedy. It doesn't fit with like the such witty writing. It's very on the nose slapstick comedy. Not to say that Arrested Development doesn't have physical comedy. It does, but it doesn't depend on it.
No, and I think it leaned harder on that because they had the cachet of the short of the Shortmeister.
Hate it. I hate even what you just said right now.
I'm I don't even know why I said that.
This is an award-winning show, right?
Oh, yeah. I think it won, there's 6 Emmys, 1 Golden Globe, 6 Satellite Awards, 3 Television Critic Awards. It had 110 nominations and 58 wins. I mean, that's more than half.
Let's say that's more than Meryl Streep.
I think so. I mean, if you just count her Oscars, but still, I think Oscars outweigh Emmys.
I don't
know. They could fight it out.
George Senior's. Another thing I want to talk about was the score of the show, because I feel like as non-visual as it is, it kind of goes hand in hand with the narrator of how important it was to the comedy. Because the score's fantastic. So, like, in researching this, I listened to it several times while just, like, working. And it really did, for one, put me in a great mood. But also, it's very distinct and very tongue-in-cheek, where the lyrics are very just what the mood is intended to be. Like the sad music is just a guy saying, and I'm blue, I'm so blue, down, so blue. David Schwartz, who was the musical director, like really nails it. Like every song is not only distinct, but it's so incredibly reusable. Yeah. Even sometimes pushing the point of context, but just like really
it just implies what you should be thinking about. Like always fighting, having that lumbo lay.
Andale is what they're saying. Andale, yeah.
Well, I don't know. Andale. Yeah, that makes sense. But also like the big yellow joint.
Big yellow joint. Yeah.
The big yellow boat. I love Balls in the Air.
Balls in the Air is amazing.
Because it's such a takeoff on like the Rocky training montage.
Yes, but it's about juggling.
Yeah, exactly. Except for Final Countdown. And I suppose the karaoke version of Afternoon Delight. There's no real unoriginal music in this, so it keeps it very contained in its own little world.
And again, they reuse some of the bits so often, like the theme for Hot Cops, that like it's distinctive, where it automatically triggers you to think about the Hot Cops. And so every time these police strippers come on, like they play their theme. So much so that later on, when two real cops who are in a relationship together, they answer the door and it's revealed that they are in a gay relationship. They play the Hot Cops theme, just so you're like, oh yeah, okay, these are hot cops, got it.
I don't. Funny enough, even this one song that I could have swore must be an original song, Lucy Schwartz, David Schwartz's daughter, vocalizes and wrote Boomerang from the very last scene of the season 4. So it is definitely a family affair.
We're not talking about season 4.
Snip it out. Snip it out.
It is a good track though. And worth a listen.
They didn't release an album of all of the collected music until 2013.
Really? Oh, I didn't realize that's how late they released it.
10 years after the conception of this show.
Speaking of family being in the show, Nellie in the show was actually Jason Bateman's real sister, Justine.
And oddly, he was pushing for her to be in a relationship with him.
Really?
Like, he was telling Mitch Hurwitz it would be so funny to have her guest star as a person he could have a relationship with.
Interesting. Because in an interview of the cast, the host was asking them what their like most awkward moment was, and like they went through like some of Hale's having to be like fully naked while he's at a sewing machine. But Jason Bateman's like, well, anywhere from me having to like have a romantic scene with Lindsay, who is my alleged sister, where she like straddles me, to having like actual somewhat romantic scenes with my real sister. Those were kind of awkward.
Not to say that he wouldn't want to do it for the comedy, though.
Yeah, he's a real pro.
There are some... One word. I really think that they push the boundaries of propriety in this whole show. Like, I mean, both Job and Buster having relationships with their mother's best friend, with Lucille too. You know, the cousin romance thing, and then finally getting out of it by saying they aren't actually related, brothers and sisters, and everything like that. This is a oddly innocent, racy show.
It really is. And again, it's so subtle that it's safe enough to put on the air. It's even safe enough to put on Fox until they cancel it. Boo. Boo Fox. Have we covered enough?
God, I think so. One other funny thing
any of our
is
listeners
Lucille's, I know, right? Lucille's prison ID number is 07734, and anybody who's written that out on a calculator can tell that upside down it's hello.
So fucking funny. It's Anyang. So Anyang puts her away, and that's her prison number. Dude, did not realize that until just now. Amazing.
Come on.
All right. So, scoring.
Let's wrap it up. Does this belong in our memory still? I think you might be able to guess.
I'm sorry, was I supposed to guess right there? Okay.
No, not. That was silence for the audience to guess, obviously.
Okay. Maybe leave it at that.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just kidding. So honestly, I give this like a 9. I would give it a 10, but I feel like I wouldn't give anything a 10. I just don't. I feel like this scored even higher than I thought that it would. It really exceeded my expectations, having not seen it for a good 5 years, besides like a random clip. It held up well. I really laughed out loud pretty hard at many episodes, And again, more than I could say about some contemporary comedies that are on right now. I appreciate this show and its uniqueness in the casting and love it. And I really do hope that we see more, even with some of the controversy that's going on with some actors. But glad to see that Netflix invested in this and that they are kind of sticking with it and really trying to revive it. So thank you. Please keep going.
This is very high up there for me too. I would give it almost a 9.5. I don't think we do points in this, but I'm gonna give it 9.5.
Forget-me-nows.
Forget-me-nows. No, that would be too many. I think I'd overdose. Yeah, I will absolutely match you. This show is so expertly crafted by people who really care about the show. I think that everybody involved in this seemed like they were so passionate about it. I think that Jason Bateman, once when the pilot came out, he said to Mitch Hurwitz, he said, "I'm so surprised it's good." And he said, "Well, I mean, why did you do it then?" And he was like, "Because I liked it." Which is fascinating to hear that was sort of the feeling of everybody. They had faith in themselves and they had faith in working with each other and being able to bring this whole amazing piece of TV to life. And they kind of didn't care. It was so evident by the end that they were just doing it for themselves, that they were just loving the process. And I think the passion shows.
And I think that's really what our show is really about. Faith.
That's why this has run so goddamn long.
All right, let's take a second to laugh about God.
Oh, come back, please. This is a compendium of literally probably half of our opinions on this damn show. What?
Nope. Sorry, been drinking. Couldn't even say that word.
Thank you for joining us on this wonderful show. Next time on Out of Memory.
Kittens, do they really land on their feet?
We find out whether or not the gummy bears were made of gummies. This is why we write them out.
And girl on couch tries to see if she can escape from a trapper keeper.
Spoilers, she doesn't.
No, she doesn't.
Thank you all for joining us. Hope you enjoyed, or hope you tolerated at least. We will see you next time. And follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Out of Memory Pod. Or
I thought there was going to be more to that. I was like, oh, that's a short address.
I know. I thought so too. At outofmemorypod@gmail.com. There is that as well. So reach out to us and let us know what we missed, what we screwed up on, and what you'd like to hear about next. Goodbye, everybody.
The next. Maybe that's enough.
I hope this hasn't been a huge mistake.
Robot!
The bird walked on my pillow. Oh, there are so...
I want this to be the intro. Just us fucking laughing about it.
Robot will get it.
That was my maid. Robot! But the robot was busy elsewhere.
What do you expect, Mother? I'm half machine. I'm a monster!
I won.
Perfect timing. Oh. If I hadn't washed my hands, I would have won.
I washed my hands too.
Good.
Not if I kill her first.
So jump back
Good
into...
for you, Buster. I hope she doesn't kill you.